He said, Kennedy, for your own good, you need to pull down this amendment. You have to pull down this amendment. Kennedy, for your own good, you have to pull down this amendment. And you know what I told him, Mr. President? I said, Scooter, there are only two things I have to do in this world. Be cool and die. And I'm not pulling down this amendment. It wasn't right when it was done in the prior administration. It's not right now that we're in charge. This is Congress's job, and by God, we ought to do it, and I reserve my time.
At a tense Senate hearing, Senator John Kennedy put it as Kennedy demanded clear answers, challenging federal enforcement priorities and accountability in America's major cities. Much larger political debate heading into the months ahead. Watch closely as Kennedy...
So the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion is not agreed to.
Mr. President.
The senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, we just spent 13 hours doing motions.
Does the senator want to call up his amendment?
Mr. President, I call up my amendment 2772 and ask that it be reported by number.
The clerk will report.
The senator from Louisiana, Mr. Kennedy, proposes an amendment number 2772 to amendment number 2360.
Mr. President, we just spent 13 hours on motions to commit. I'm not blaming my Democratic colleagues because we had to agree to it. But anybody with a brain above a single-cell organism knows that a motion to commit has no chance of passing. So basically, we've been standing around for 13 hours. We might as well just been standing around sucking on our teeth. Now, I'd like to ask for order in this chamber. At least we can have that.
There'll be order, please.
Mr. President, in this bill, $1 billion is set aside to be spent by September 30th, 2027 to carry out the Defense Production Act. That's it. That's all there is. Now, I'm not a big fan of government-directed industrialization. Government-directed industrialization is when government, with its superior instincts and infallible judgment, decides to pick winners and losers in the private sector. This business gets some money, but you, Ms. Businesswoman, you can't have the money. I'm against that for two reasons. Number one, it's immoral. It's unfair to people who don't get the money, the gift from government. And number two, when government does it, when it picks winners and losers. Now, I was against it in the prior administration. And just recently in my committee, subcommittee, we had a hearing where the prior administration handed out $90 billion in the last 76 days of its administration in gifts and loans to entities in the private sector. And I raised fresh hell. And now we're about to do it again. $1 billion. Now and that's all it says, $1 billion to be spent, period. Now, I have been told that the Secretary of Energy and the Secretary of the Interior are going to decide in their unfettered discretion who's going to get this money in the private sector. And they are both two good men. I know that both of those secretaries, I voted for them. They are total ballers. I love them to death. But when I'm in Washington, I live by this adage: trust in God, but tie up your camel. Trust in God, but tie up your camel. This bill will say they can give these gifts and grants to whomever they want, but Congress has to approve them. Now, about, an hour ago, I got a call from one of my supporters, Mr. President. And you know what he said to me? He said, Kennedy, for your own good, you need to pull down this amendment. You have to pull down this amendment. Kennedy, for your own good, you have to pull down this amendment. And you know what I told him, Mr. President? I said, Scooter, there are only two things I have to do in this world. Be cool and die. And I'm not pulling down this amendment. It wasn't right when it was done in the prior administration. It's not right now that we're in charge. This is Congress's job, and by God, we ought to do it, and I reserve my time.
The senator from Vermont.
All right. I support the Kennedy Amendment, but not for the reasons my friend from Louisiana does. I think that there should be some flexibility and there should be some governmental policy that helps our industry. And I do agree that the president should have some power. What I do not believe is that the Congress should be powerless. And that's what we have become, ceding our Article I authority to a chief executive, and I don't care whether it's a Republican or Democrat. The most important branch is the Article I branch because we are the closest to the people. And how is it that we have in this bill $1 billion that goes to an executive to be spent in a ways we have no input as to how it will be spent. We have no accountability. We have no way to tell the people we represent how this money is being spent and why. Mr. President, I believe that the biggest threat we have to this democracy is the failure of this Congress to assert its authority and accept its responsibility to make the decisions that the Constitution says is our obligation to do, and that starts with the power of the purse. I support the man from Louisiana in his amendment. I yield the floor.
Mr. President, how much time do I have? Mr. President, I understand my esteemed colleague and I disagree.
Okay. The senator from Louisiana has 30 seconds, and the senator from South Carolina has 4 minutes.
Thank you, Scooter. I'm Mr. President. Mr. President, I appreciate my colleague's support. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. But this town operates on two wrongs don't make it right, but they do make it even. It's time that Congress have a say in how the money's being spent. And this doesn't say the money can't be spent. It just says Congress gets to approve it.
Mr. President, I really like my good friend from the great state of Louisiana. And Scooter's cousin Bubba called me recently. And I got to tell you that there's no doubt in my mind that the importance of the Defense Production Act is undeniable. And specificity is a necessary component for us to have our oversight. And that is why this administration, unlike the last administration, has committed to making sure that we understand.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more political moments like this.